This is the accusation. They're throwing around the word treason.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016.
They're saying that Obama knew that Russia did not meddle in the election, did not have any impact.
It was 8 years that he cried racism every time you criticized him. He says, get tough. Well, where's he been? They've been firebombing stuff and rioting and marching and filibustering, setting records. He's been on the beach in Hawaii licking snow cones. How much tougher can...
Joe Rogan and Jesse Watters just exposed the real Obama, and it's nothing like the image we've been sold. Behind the big speeches and polished moments was a man who talked change but delivered contradictions. From dropping drones overseas to preaching climate change on luxury beaches, it's clear now. This wasn't transformation, it was a performance. This isn't a political takedown, it's a reality check. No scripts, no fake cheers, just cold, sarcastic truth that hits harder than any applause line.
Your glass of water? This is not a prank. He gets a glass of Flint tap water and I swear to God, he drinks it like this. That's it.
Can I get some water? I really didn't need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
It's
that.
100%.
Have you been to Obama's presidential library? Of course not. No one has. It's been in the works for 8 years, and it's only half done. But it is breaking records. For the most days between leaving office and the grand opening, nearly 3,000 days and counting. Originally, it was supposed to cost $350 million, but a couple minor setbacks, some snowy winters. The price tag is now over $800 million. The Bulls built Jordan the United Center for under $200.
Barack Obama's legacy. It's like a Hollywood movie set, shiny on the outside, but empty inside. All lights, no depth. Joe Rogan crashes through the illusion like a bull in a gift shop, smashing every carefully staged moment. And Jesse Watters. He picks up the broken pieces with a grin, handing them back like a reality check. Obama didn't focus on fixing problems, he focused on building an image. And now, the cracks in that image are impossible to ignore.
Because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the Federal Department of Education and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president, then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. It was one of the worst administrations for.
For a guy who ran on hope, Obama sure handed out a version that came with an expiration date. Hope for transparency. Gone the moment the press asked real questions. Hope for unity. Tossed aside when he started labeling half the country like they were past their shelf life. His whole image, the cool, smart guy who can shoot hoops, drop a playlist, and talk policy without missing a beat. But when you look past the charm, it's just 8 years of political TED Talks. Smooth words, big drama, and barely any results.
Obama's trying to save the party he destroyed, so he's on a manhunt. But there's one problem. The brothers don't listen to him anymore, so he's trying to transition boys into girls. Barack's got his own rules for men, but these are the rules that made men leave the party in the first place. Barry says guys don't always have to be the providers, as long as they talk.
Joe Rogan didn't even have to try. Mocking Obama's obsession with being the coolest guy in the room was effortless. His presidency felt less like leadership and more like a personal brand launch, with a nuclear arsenal in the background. If charm counted as policy, Obama would have been FDR, Lincoln, and Churchill all rolled into one. But when it came to real decisions, he spent more time posing for selfies than owning his actions. And Jesse Watters nailed it, calling that Nobel Peace Prize what it really was, a shiny participation trophy handed out way too early.
Look at the policies and the attacks on whistleblowers and drone strikes and all the other shit that that happened during that administration and the coup in Russia, and like there's a lot. It's, from a foreign policy perspective, very similar to what George Bush was doing. But what they were doing was highlighting social justice issues that came about during his administration, largely obscured the fact that the foreign policies were very similar to what George Bush.
Obama walked into the White House like a rock star and walked out like a life coach with an Instagram filter. The economy didn't bounce back. It limped along, propped up by media spin. His speeches, like bedtime stories for progressives, poetic pauses, clever metaphors, while regular folks were busy Googling how to keep their jobs and afford healthcare. It was all flash, no follow-through. Unless you count drone strikes, NSA spying, and a pile of executive orders, nobody voted for.
Harry and Michelle took a private jet down to Australia this week. Michelle looked miserable. What'd she have to be so sad about? Her husband's making millions in Australia. People are paying what, $900 a ticket just to hear him talk? Now, Obama met Australia's Prime Minister. Look how happy they are. Harry didn't even need the Marine.
And let's not forget Obama's greatest trick, disappearing whenever a scandal showed up. IRS targeting conservatives. Poof, gone. The Fast and Furious gun mess. Suddenly he's a silent mime. Benghazi, oh, he was too busy filling out his March Madness bracket to remember what accountability even meant. Jesse Watters tore into this Houdini routine like it was a cheap Vegas stunt, calling out how Obama stood in front of every crisis, but somehow dodged all the blame. And Joe Rogan didn't hold back either, exposing how Obama talked like a reformer but ruled like just another suit in the system. He promised to drain the swamp, then popped champagne with the swamp creatures. When it came to transparency, Obama acted like sunlight was toxic. Freedom of the press. More like freedom to be watched, punished, or good.
Barack Obama's bored. Michelle's outshining him. She's a big Netflix star, best-selling author. Now she's a fruit juice technician. And he's just left starved for attention. Just the way Michelle likes it.
We had your wife Michelle on the show, and she had mentioned that for about 10 years of the marriage, she really didn't like you.
Oh, man.
So asking for a friend, how do you get back in good graces? Again, for a friend. Got pens, so I'm taking notes.
Let me just say this. It sure helps to be out of the White House. And to have a little more time with her.
Obama led one of the harshest crackdowns on whistleblowers in U.S. history, all while posing as a champion of civil liberties. Joe Rogan called it the biggest bait-and-switch since decaf coffee. Then came the infamous healthcare rollout, which looked like a toddler tried coding with crayons and frustration. Obamacare wasn't just broken, it was a full-blown bureaucratic train wreck. The website crashed more than a 90s computer on dial-up, and after burning through millions, what we got was higher premiums, fewer doctors, and deductibles that needed a second mortgage. Every failure had a scapegoat: Bush, Congress, or even the weather. If a bird pooped on the White House lawn, Obama probably blamed a Republican filibuster. As Jesse Watters put it, Obama didn't lead a country, he led a seminar in excuse-making, dressed up in poetry, and sold like gospel.
Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
I don't understand how we got so toxic, so divided, and so bitter. And
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that.
Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person, a statesman. He's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something, and then you get into office, and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up lie about Trump.
Don't even get started on Obama's foreign policy, the red line in Syria. More like a crayon sketch. Libya, a full-blown disaster followed by a casual shrug. Iran, here's a palette of cash and a diplomatic wink. His diplomacy felt like an infomercial, slick under studio lights, useless in the real world. Joe Rogan joked that Obama could calmly narrate war crimes while casually approving drone strikes like he was shopping on Amazon. He turned presidential hesitation into performance art, and people clapped because he spoke softly and wore a tailored suit. While the world unraveled, he was polishing punchlines for late-night shows. And just when you thought he was done, he came back like a sequel no one asked for, pulling strings from the shadows, pretending he was just offering advice. Joe nailed it, like a retired quarterback sneaking onto the field, calling plays and throwing picks, all while wearing someone else's jersey.
Class Barack. Ex-presidents don't go to foreign countries to hammer other ex-presidents. It's just not done. And what he's saying is totally wrong. Obama turbocharged China. Under Obama, China built up their military, hacked their companies, stole our factories, while our economy had the weakest recovery since...
Jesse Watters went all in, blasting Obama for creating a generation of fragile clout-chasing operatives who mastered Twitter threads but never learned how to govern. He didn't leave a legacy, he left ideological landmines, and now America's stepping on them one by one. Obama didn't pass the torch, he handed off a flaming dumpster and called it progress. These days, he lives like a Netflix philosopher with ocean views, climate slogans, and a PR team for every emotion. He talks climate change, then hops private jets to summits that burn more fuel than a small city. The hypocrisy. So thick you could jar it and sell it as organic syrup. Joe Rogan nailed it. Listening to Obama preach about the environment is like a vampire giving sunscreen tips. And now there's his media empire documentaries full of soft lighting, emotional music, and endless tributes to himself. Obama's gift wasn't leadership, it was illusion. He didn't change the game, he rebranded it. He gave old politics new buzzwords, a clean beat, and a Spotify vibe, and somehow convinced a whole nation that flash was the same as substance.
Obvious.
But Obama said, "Get out of here, Auntie. I don't want your dumb bush." Elder Auntie got booted from the event for being too difficult. She's 78 years old. Obama didn't go all the way to Australia for a welcome bush. He's there for two reasons: make money and trash Trump. Barry says that he had China in the palm of his hand. And once Trump took over, Xi Jinping ate our lunch.
I think China feels as if it does not have to operate under the same constraints that it did by what's president.
Joe Rogan summed it up perfectly. Obama's presidency was politics with a Hollywood filter and a SoundCloud vibe. Jesse Watters didn't hold back either, saying Obama promised change, but all he really did was change the label. Same swamp, just better lighting and smoother jazz. He didn't drain it, he landscaped it, added a jogging path, and pitched it to Netflix for a miniseries. Now that the spotlight's faded and the curtains pulled back, the myth is cracking, and the truth is leaking through like spoiled almond milk left in the sun. And no, this roast isn't over. There's still plenty of illusion left to burn. While Obama's out polishing his brand, the chaos he left behind still smolders like a campfire no one bothered to put out. Jesse nailed the irony. Obama built his entire image on not being George W. Bush, then turned around and governed like Bush. Just with a cooler playlist.
About Biden. Give me some volume. Go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what? If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country. Now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto.
Joe Rogan hit even harder, calling out the truth. Obama's legacy isn't about solving problems, it's about setting the mood lighting. He didn't fix anything. He just made the chaos sound poetic. Healthcare, still a mess. Race relations, more divided than ever. Income gap, wider than before. But hey, for 8 years, he made people feel good about it. That's not leadership, that's therapy with a teleprompter. And today, every time he speaks, it's the same tired tune. Things would be better if you just listened to me. As if the real damage didn't happen on his watch, while he was too busy writing another coffee table memoir to notice the country skidding off the road. Jesse Watters nailed it. Obama lectures America about economic justice. From a beachfront mansion, after cashing in like a Powerball winner on eBay. He talks inflation like he's struggling to. Meanwhile, he's banking 7-figure book deals and filming documentaries about humility. It's the most high-budget case of do as I say, not as I do that modern politics has ever seen.
When they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, fuck this. And then they go, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States in a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyans.
Libyan civilians paid the price, and yet Obama walks the political tightrope like a man who knows the media will clap no matter how many times he stumbles. Joe Rogan's not buying it. The smug smirk, the preacher-style delivery, the soft jabs wrapped in unity, it's all part of the brand. But that brand, it's starting to rot under its own hype. Because behind the soaring speeches, dramatic pauses, and stadium cheers, there's a truth no glossy article can cover forever. Obama promised change but delivered a TED Talk. He came in on a wave of "Yes, we can," and left behind a highlight reel with background music, hoping that would make it all feel meaningful. And when the teleprompter finally shuts off, what's left? A man, a myth, and one very expensive echo.